How are you guys? Welcome back to Wargaming China. Now, you know what this channel's about. I've done well over 100 videos, and today I never know what people are gonna like, and I'm doing this anyway, so I thought I'd do a video of it, of how I set up the table, what I work from, and what I try to achieve with the materials I use. So today it's just going to be me doing the table, and I'm going to talk about the Xuzhou campaign, as well as I said, how I'm going to set my table up. Now, what I'm hoping to build is this. Now, this is the terrain between Mingguang and the Jinpu Railway Bridge over the River Qi. Now, the terrain is mountainous, rocky, with lakes, and the Japanese are pushing up the railway track. Now, the Qi River is not a narrow river, but and I'll show you. And you know, when we ever have rivers, they always seem to be either too narrow, too short, too long. We never have the right river when we buy something for what we need. You know, on the scale. You know, because wargaming, setting up the table, is all about compromise. So what I'm going to start with is I'm going to put some green material on the table. I'm going to put the green material. Actually, no. What I'll start with, because this is the thing, I never know how to build a table. You know, I come in to build a table, and I hope that I'll get the first bit right, and then the next bit kind of comes to me. So I'm going to use, instead of having a river, I've put down some blue material. If you're all familiar with this blue material, it's been on many videos. And what I'm going to do to make the river and get the contours correct, and get the contours of the river correct, is I'm going to lay this green board on the table roughly where I believe the line of the river will go. There, and there. Now, we'll try. I can't look at the camera very much today while I'm doing this video. And as I said, I have no idea how this is going to go. So for me, I'm looking at that from this angle. Looks about right. Maybe I can save a bit on material by yeah, that looks more like it. Now, before I put any terrain on the table, I'm going to try to get the railway tracks. Now, with railway lines, In China, you'll always find, or so common is the case, that the fight is along the railway lines. So if you want a war game in China, you better get yourself some railway track. Okay, so what have we got? Yep. Let me ask you what my material is made of. It's not made out of any one thing, I just use what I can. This is just, this material I'm laying down right now, it's just cheap felt. All my material, you know, it comes from wherever I source it from. You can see this is just an offcut from somebody, probably a friend's wife gave it to me. Okay, more green on the outside. You know, the volume and the audio quality is going to drop out a lot on this video, but bear with us. We should still have some fun. So let me see. This, maybe you don't follow where I'm going, but forgive me, and I'm not the world's best communicator, but I think you'll figure it out. Actually, that's what I mean. I never know exactly how I should do this. Alright, maybe I've screwed up putting that on first. Right, let's go back to the railway line. As I said, like the creative process, do whatever feels right. You know, don't say, oh, I'm going to get this day right and then I'm going to move on to the next table. You're doing the table as a whole. The wargaming table is a holistic process to get right. Okay. So if I were to put so the Chinese are dug in both sides of the river, both sides of the railway track, of the bridge. Now, so again we want another kind of straight piece. I mean, I don't have any I'm mixing that railway track. It doesn't make any difference. So the dice roll. And railway track's a lot like everything in wargaming. You never have enough of it or you've got too much, depending on the battle. Depending on what we're trying to create. Okay. Okay, so I've been talking about this battle is part of the Battle of Xuzhou. Now, you may have watched my videos, and I've been doing a few battles on the Xuzhou campaign, but so far as the Chinese forces are concerned, I've concentrated on the 5th War Zone and Lai Zhongren's northern defense. And I've focused, you know, we looked at the drive by the Japanese directly south by the 10th Infantry Division We've also looked at the northeasterly, the Japanese advance to the northeast of the 5th Infantry Division. But now we're looking at the south, and we're looking at the advance of the 13th Japanese Infantry Division of the Central China Army, of the Japanese Central China Area Army. Now, in previous videos, I talked about how Han Fu-Chu, Governor of Shandong, and Lai Zongren, second in command of the 5th War Zone, and a warlord, the ruler of Shandong Province, and his army, and how he had abandoned his positions on the southern side of the Yellow River, allowing the Japanese to cross unopposed, and then instead of defending Jinan, had abandoned his city, had abandoned the city to the Japanese, and then all of this had led to his execution for cowardice, and that had made all the warlords pay attention and snap to it a bit quicker when the government issued orders. Now, the fighting that I'd previously talked about in the north, I've covered from the beginning of January until March the 18th, which coincides with the failure of the Japanese, the Battle of Linyi, on the Japanese right, on the Chinese right flank, and the failure, the continuing struggle of the Japanese pushing south against the 22nd Army Group of Song Zhen. But as I said, now we're back to January, and as I've discussed, the two armies heading south, and now we're going to talk about the army heading north. Now, this army's main goal is to push up the Jinpu railway line, which is the Tianjin-Pukou railway line, henceforth we'll be calling it the Jinpu railway line, to Xuzhou, in support of the two other Japanese divisions, thus capturing the city and the headquarters of the 5th War Zone in a three-pronged pincer movement. However, standing between the Japanese 13th Infantry Division is on their advance to Xuzhou is the 31st Army Group. Now, the 31st Army Group we're going to talk about later. You know how I can just ramble on and get to subjects that I don't want to really cover at the time. I've just done that. But there's the premise of the battle. We're going to see the 31st Army Group of Guangxi Province in a blocking operation on the Qi River, and the battle will go from Miguan, and the battle will last from the 8th of January until the 31st of January. Now, just going to finish my cigarette and I'll get back to building. So what else can I tell you? You can see how I'm mixing different tracks. It won't make it, you just, like I said, wargaming is compromise. So now, I'm going to try and do the curve in the track after it crosses a bridge. Okay, so that'll be there. Come back this way, just perhaps a little bit more. So there's the railway track, and how does ours look? Not bad. Not bad. So now, what I'm going to do is, you see I'm leaving the river for last because I have an idea about the terrain I can use, but now I have to make the battlefield fit my terrain. You know, I don't know if that's understandable, but yeah, now I have to make that battlefield fit the terrain pieces that I have. Okay, so we know that I know that here and here, on this part of the table, and on this part of the table, it's mountains. And I know that the Chinese occupy these positions here, and that the Japanese are in small arms range as they advance towards the bridge. So let me see what I've got that I can do something like that with. Okay. So there you can see that I could have one side there, and that's definitely on rifle range fire. Oh. Move it like that. Okay. Now I have a larger terrain piece. Now, because the Chinese stand here lasted 3 weeks, the terrain played an important element of it. Because Lai Zongren had to figure out an age-old military conundrum. How do you defeat an enemy who is better trained, better led, better armed, better supported than your own army, than your own poorly equipped army? And in the defense in the south, Lai Zongren will basically, as the Japanese advance north, he will use his army in a 4-phase operation. The first 2 phases involve blocking and withdrawal to the west. The third part of the operation is frontal attacks on the Japanese as they advance still further north. Now, these frontal attacks, although they're delivered with rigor, are not delivered to stop the Japanese. They are delivered to make the Japanese feel that they are in contact with the main body of the Chinese army. And these attacks, although I said that are done with vigor, carried out with vigor, are only feints. And then as the Japanese bring up more reserves, these armies again retreat westward. So they're all sitting on the western flank of the Japanese army. Now, the 4th phase is where the army is sitting on the west, and the Japanese have step to the rear, to the to the flank as the Japanese have advanced north. These armies will now conduct operations on the rear of the Jinpu railway line. And as they're doing this, the Japanese army is on the River Huai, trying to cross the River Huai, where they are going to meet the final phase of the defense of the northern bank of the Huai River. Now, I'm not the best communicator, I hope that makes sense. So what I'm looking at is this sable's not going to be easy to set up. Maybe I was being too... Bear with me on this, guys. As I said, I don't know how long this is going to take. No, I can't put that there. Okay. So I think I'm not going to be able to use this particular piece of ceramic. Okay, let's put it back where it goes. Okay, which forces me now to use other stuff. I still want this. I know where I'll put that. Now then, so now I'm going to draw on the paper the contours of the river. Very bold. I'm going to try not to be procrastinate about it. Okay, scissors out, or my wife's scissors out, which I'll have to take back to the kitchen, otherwise there'll be war. So I'm going to cut this out, it'll give me the contours of the river. Because I never try to play the same game twice, I'm not really into, as I said, building a massive river, because it will only suit for one game. And as I said before, the rivers of China are mighty. And as such, you probably wouldn't find that most even clubs wouldn't have rivers, pre-made rivers, wide enough to do the job for most of the rivers in China, or many of the rivers in China, and in any kind of scale. So this is a good way to get the river on the table, get it at the right dimensions for your table, and to do it at very low cost, and you know, very quickly. As I said, I don't know if this will be fun. It's interesting. I never know what people will watch, but I know I'm doing this, so it's a nice easy video for me to make, and it's the kind of video I haven't done before. So if you like this kind of thing, make sure you subscribe. If you want me to do more of this kind of thing and you think this is the way I should go from now on when I make the table up, let me know. As I said, I try to keep my wargaming simple, cheap, and I think creativity is the most important thing out of wargames. Our hobby gives us so much, so many angles of things that our hobby embraces, and the creativity side is just one, isn't it? Okay, so let's see. Let's see. Okay. River. See, nice and cheap and cheerful. You don't have to break the bank. You don't have to say, oh, how do I make this river, you know? No product sells this, no company sells this product, what am I to do? Make it yourself. Just remember, when you were a kid playing with toy soldiers, you used the lounge room floor or the dining room table and your imagination. Never lose your imagination. Okay. This. Actually, I think I'll just move more that way. I know you probably can't hear what I'm saying because of my mumbler, but it doesn't matter, you can see what I'm doing. This is the bridge I'm using. It's made from beading, renderer's beading, and I did a video on it. Bridge for the skinflint. So if you like the bridge, I did have made a video on how you can have it on your table. See? We're getting there already. Now we're getting there already. Oh wow, we've been nearly going half an hour now. Well, we're going to keep